Toronto Blue Jays have made multiple moves, and ahead of what's going to be an absolutely crucial stretch of games over the next few days as the trade deadline looms, the Jays have made some moves. We're going to break down exactly what those are and discuss the implications going forward. But we also have multiple huge injury updates surrounding Dalton Varsho, George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, and one more player in particular that has fans fired up. And at the end of the video, we have an interesting trade update to go over because it is inching closer and closer to the trade deadline. We are 2 days away, and the Jays are in the mix for some huge names. Stay tuned for all of that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. You guys have been absolute beasts with the support lately. It truly means the world to myself. And as we inch closer and closer, about 48 hours away from that deadline, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your support over here. Multiple videos a day. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it. Let's start with the moves here. So the Jays made some moves ahead of yesterday's game, and the reason I bring this up again, obviously for those who, in case you missed it, because Will Wagner didn't play yesterday, but there is some more moves on the horizon today before the early afternoon game. So Will Wagner was reinstated from the restricted list and will be active. Yesterday, Rodon was optioned and Bowden Francis was transferred to the 60-day IL. So of course, Will Wagner is back. They still have Ali Sanchez, and more moves are going to be coming today for the 27th spot here on the to be activated on the team, simply because of the double header. So those are the moves. Nothing crazy, but these kind of play into A, the trade deadline with Will Wagner and things like that, but B, some of the injury updates here. And let's dive right into those. So Alejandro Kirk is doing better per John Schneider, which is very good news. And I'll dive into Varsho in a minute. Before Alejandro Kirk, all signs point to him returning after the 7-day IL stint. And obviously with concussions, things become very interesting. Things become very jaded as it pertains to, sometimes they're good. Sometimes, he ends up being a little bit, anyone who's dealing with concussions can last a lot longer than 7 days. All signs are pointing to him returning, from the minimum, 7-day stint, which is very good news. They've lost both games since Kirk has went, down, obviously in the middle of the game before last. The last game against Detroit. It's a, he missed last game in the Detroit series and missed yesterday's game. So it's going to be an interesting one. Now, again, the Jays lost the couple games without him. He is a crucial part. No disrespect to Heineman, but Kirk is on a different level. And not only that, though, Varsho's been on a different level at AAA as well. But he's going to be joining the Blue Jays following the trade deadlines. You can see here, Dalton Varsho is likely, and we'll dive into it later a little bit more, but likely to join the Jays in the weekend after continued rehab at AAA this week. He probably, saw the weather in Baltimore. Today is supposed to be like 50 degrees or something crazy like that in the doubleheader and said, okay, I'll pass and wait until they return. So seemingly the first game back after the trade deadline is when, which I believe is Friday, but, is when for this weekend, upcoming weekend, is when Varsho is going to be returning, which is very good news both sides. Like, Kirk is doing better. He should be good for around then. Varsho seemingly going to return this weekend. Some big reinforcements are coming their way. Now, let's dive into the George Springer situation before we dive into Manoah, because the Springer situation is obviously more pressing as it pertains to today. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think he's going to play either game today. Head injuries and concussions and things like that are very, very touchy. But after getting hit in the shoulder and helmet with the pitch and exiting the game, George Springer continues undergoing testing with Jays trainers. Thankfully, he was able to turn a little bit too. Manager John Schneider said he was alert the whole time. So the good news is, walked off under, under help, but under his own power for the most part. He is going to be going under testing and things like that. You don't mess around with anything to the head. And it was very unfortunate because the Jays were basically, they were out of the game, right? It was 11-4, I believe it was at the time. Very, very unfortunate. And you got to hope George Springer is okay. The concern, there was a lot of it there, but at the end of the day, he's with the doc getting evaluated. We'll probably have another update, I assume, prior to today's game, games, or after one of the two games. Again, there is a double header today, 12:35 Eastern, I believe, and then 7:35 Eastern, I believe, the two start times. And we have an update surrounding that as well. Like, things are very fluid right now. And the craziest part about this is obviously a freak injury, horrible luck, and the pitcher, the rookie, felt bad as well in his 5th appearance, I believe it was, in the major leagues, ever. The Jays, the trade deadline is in the middle of, today's going to be one of the crazier days in recent memory, because the Jays have 2 games against AL East rivals, crucial games, even though the Orioles haven't been great. The Jays need to make a move as well. We're 2 days away from the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if a move breaks during one of the games today in the middle. Ross Atkins is going to be cooking here, and hopefully George Springer's okay. And I don't think we're going to see him in either of the games, but we'll have to see what happens, on that front. And again, Varsho's returning soon. Kirk, just kind of an overlay, is feeling better. Santander, nothing new. Let's dive into Nick Sandlin a little bit. He should start throwing later this week in Toronto. So that's an underrated aspect of this. The bullpen has been decimated. No update on Jimmy Garcia, but Jimmy Garcia has been out. Ryan Burr's been out. Swanson DFA. Nick Sandlin's been out most of the year. They've been decimated and still been doing good. Ryan Burr's out for the season, so we'll pass on that for now, but he is getting shoulder surgery. Bowden Francis, he's probably not going to be, a part of this team, much this year. But Alek Manoah, his sim game, he went 45 pitches, 3 ups, velo up to 95, and it went well. We'll get one more rehab game in Florida, likely with Dunedin. There's a chance that he plays this season. And obviously, I had Keegan on the video there a couple days ago, and he was basically saying that unless, they don't get a starter at the deadline, which is very possible. Like, obviously, there's a lot of rumblings lately about the Jays being in on guys like Mackenzie Gore, guys like Dylan Cease, who actually, left or was dealing with an injury in his last start yesterday. I mean, guys like Eugenio Suarez, who's obviously a hitter. He had drilled in the hand yesterday. I mean, Emmanuel Clase got suspended or is on paid administrative leave because of gambling. Things are crazy right now. Alek Manoah could factor himself into this team if they end up not going out and actually getting another, pitcher, right? And that's one of the bigger things here. And the biggest things is how is he going to factor into everything and the whole Jays, scene? Because next up for him is his rehab continues, a game in Florida, likely with the Dunedin Blue Jays. We could see him back sooner than a lot of fans may have thought. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on all of those updates. Obviously, there's a ton of them, and a lot of them came out before this series started. Want to keep you up to date. They're going to be at home after this series for the, after the trade deadline. Moves are going to be coming. And Varsho back at the weekend, fantastic news. Kirk feeling better, fantastic news. Obviously, even Manoah's fantastic news. The big question mark here is George Springer, how he's going to bounce back from getting hit in the head yesterday. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. But we have some more updates to go over ahead of today's game. So as for tomorrow, Blue Jays will likely have to make some roster moves per John Schneider to be determined on what those are. And, of course, to be assessed for Game 1, Eric Lauer, Game 2. There's some rumblings about Easton Lucas making the start tomorrow. Again, the Orioles are heavy lefties, right? They have most of their team is left-handed batters, and we saw Chris Bassett get abused in yesterday's game by the lefties. Adley Rutschman, all those guys, even Ramon Laureano, maybe highlighting himself for the Toronto Blue Jays. Cedric Mullins hitting a bomb and obviously robbing a bomb. It was crazy. But at the end of the day, we're expecting Easton Lucas to be the guy who starts the first game. Eric Lauer's confirmed the second game. They have guys like Paxton Schultz available on standby, Jesus Lazaro, and of course Easton Lucas. So because of the way the Jays bullpen got decimated yesterday, the only guys that are fully available they didn't use, Yariel Rodriguez and Jeff Hoffman, the 2 high leverage guys. Of course, Eric Lauer, is going to be starting tomorrow, but Brendan Little started and pitched a lot. I didn't start, but he pitched a lot yesterday during the bullpen. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. We're going to obviously, and by the time you're watching this, depending on when you do, this will probably be announced, towards 11-ish Eastern, something like that in the morning. But it's going to be crazy, folks. And to be honest, this is the craziest time of the year. I mean, you have the deadline right around the corner. A bunch of reports are dropping, and things are happening very, very quickly. We have Varsho rejoining, this weekend and looking at some of the bullpen arms that the Jays could add just ahead of what's going to be possibly a day where the Jays make a trade for a bullpen arm, especially given how hard they've worked lately. Keep an eye out for these players, David Bednar, Ryan Helsley, Jansen, even Kenley Jansen, Johan Duran, a lot of guys here. There's a lot of players available for the Blue Jays. And there's been some reports lately from Ken Rosenthal late last night about Stephen Kwan, the Jays' interest in him, a lot of interest in relievers. It seems their number one priority right now is a pitcher, right? Whether that be a starter or a reliever, they need to add multiple relief pitchers. They need to add a starter at the very least. We're hoping, and I'm hoping it's Mackenzie Gore. It's been the guy I've been covering on the channel the most just because it makes the most sense for this team. But at the end of the day, a lot of names to look out for. And also, it seems the Jays have kind of pushed the Yankees into borderline selling territories. Andy Martino came out and revealed that they've had some talks about trading Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt. So if the Yankees end up selling because of the fact that Aaron Judge is out with an injury for now, this would be good news for the Jays. Obviously, the more cushion in the AL East, the better. Luckily, the Yankees lost yesterday, so the Jays keep their 5.5 game lead in the AL East. But at the end of the day, folks, they got to keep it going, and they have been an elite team, right? They've been an absolute beast this season. But it's going to be crazy. Folks, a lot to go over. A lot went over today and a lot to go over in the coming days, coming hours, and even coming minutes, depending on how this trade deadline finishes itself up. Folks, let me know down below what your thoughts are on all this. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you later today. Buckle up, folks. 2 games on the way.